It is great to welcome you all to this wonderful event. And it's more important to hear from the people that follow me than to hear from me. So I would like to welcome Deidre Spellman, the chair of Jewish Family Services, to talk to us about this wonderful organization. I didn't say that Deidre is a lifetime social worker, one of the most important jobs in our society, along with teachers, a profession which doesn't really do much for the folks that follow it in terms of remuneration, but it's ever so important. And Deidre's a graduate of a school up the street from here, Scranton Central, and I know there are a couple Central graduates here tonight.
There are.
Yeah.
Several members of my class are here.
Tell us about Jewish Family Services, Deidre.
I will indeed. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to our 5th Community Matters program. We're really excited to be able to join you again in person and to be able to honor Natalie, as we've been trying to do for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm Deirdre Spellman, as Mike said, and I'm the president of Jewish Family Services and have been throughout the pandemic. It's been a real privilege for me to be the president of Jewish Family Services because the Jewish Federation and Jewish Family Services has been part of my life. Since I was a child, I received a scholarship to go to the travel camp in the JCC, and my mom, Florence Spellman, some of you might have known her, was a volunteer for many years. My Aunt Gloria Dinner was involved for many years, and my grandparents and my Uncle Marvin, so many of you know them. They used to be what I consider the older Jewish people in Scranton, and now I'm one of them. So, but I would like to welcome everybody and thank you for coming. I'd like to also acknowledge the previous recipients of our Community Matters Award, Susie and Jimmy Connors. Jimmy and I went to high school together, Sandra and Maury Myers. And I don't know that Attorney Myers remembers it, but when I was a student getting my MSW at Marywood, he taught social work and the law. And it was one of the best courses I ever had. And I've used that information throughout my career. And Lou and Barb Nivert. And of course, Jane Oppenheim of blessed memory. So all of those recipients, Natalie's in a good company with people who've made a difference in our community. I'd also like to thank our staff of Jewish Family Services. They do an exceptional job, and they really serve the community, and they're really the heroes tonight. So I'd like to thank them, and I'd like them to stand as I called their name. Sheila Noodleman-Abdo. Sheila's our executive director. Our wonderful social workers, Maggie Bushwick, Don Minkoff, and Peter Danford. Lori Lofney, our coordinator of older adult services. Heather Green, our business manager. Art Lewandowski, our coordinator of marketing and development. And you're going to see Art's helped put this all together with help from the staff, but also has put together a wonderful video that we'll be seeing after my comments. Barbara Egan, our administrative assistant, and Michelle Breezy, our medical billing specialist. So thank you to all of them for the wonderful job you do. Jewish Family Services, as many of you might know, has been around since 1915. I wasn't there at the beginning, but certainly family members were, and so to see the difference that it's made in the community is wonderful. I think one of the exciting things for me this evening is that we're honoring Natalie Gelb, who I've also had the privilege of knowing since we were kids together growing up in Scranton. And I was thinking about what could I say about Natalie, and all of you know Natalie, and all of you know all the wonderful things she's done. And I found a quote that I had gotten some time ago, and I don't know who it was from, but it really kind of describes Natalie and what she's done. Every girl and every woman has potential to make the world a better place, and that potential lies in the act of thinking higher and higher thoughts and feeling deeper feelings. Natalie exemplifies this potential and in action. She's done it all. She has not only reached it, but she has surpassed it. She has demonstrated the capability to create change in all those around her. And as her family said in our program, Natalie has dedicated her life to building a thriving, supportive, inclusive community for us all. And that's so very true. And so I'd like to introduce now a wonderful video that we have that kind of highlights who we are as Jewish Family Services. One of the nice things about Jewish Family Services is the broad amount of services that we provide. So we have the 3 pillars of service, which include our counseling services, where we work with individuals or families to assist them in resolving any issues that might be preventing them from having the kind of life that they want to have. We also have our older adult services, which includes guardianship and support for older adults and their families in their homes, and that's a really important service also. In addition, we have our food insecurity and assistance program that really helps people who are in need, and we have a kosher Meals on Wheels as well as kosher food bank, and those are very important programs that serve all of the community. I think the important thing about Jewish Family Services is that we're a community agency serving everybody regardless of race, religion, belief system. We're very open to being there for people in need.
Jewish Family Service provides counseling services that are needed in the community, and the availability of these services is far more limited than it used to be. It has a very important mission. And I've always been impressed with the professionalism and dedication of the staff, and as well as the volunteer board, who are far more than I, are very knowledgeable about what it takes to provide help to people.
Jewish Family Services saving lives in our community. And what a lot of people don't know is it's not just Jewish people that are receiving the benefits. And I know people who have been helped over the years. I don't hesitate ever to recommend Jewish Family Service to people who need help.
It's generally providing social services in collaboration with other agencies. It's guardianship. And I think, although it doesn't continue anymore, its dental program, it has been an inspiration and made available an awareness to other sources that are now able to provide it. So I think that the Jewish Family Services has done a great work. Its pantry, which is its specialized Jewish role, is very important. But beyond that, its role in the larger community is significant, and hope that it continues for many, many more years.
As I got more involved in the community, I learned more about all the wonderful work that JFS does, helping people over the years. I remember with the Russian resettlement, when the Russian Jews were coming here, and now as it evolved into counseling people, I mean, I guess it always was that, but I wasn't as aware of it until I started hearing about it maybe 20, 30 years ago, people talking about what a wonderful organization it is. And it's always been amazing to me that it's not just the Jewish community that JFS takes care of. They have clients from every background, every religious, ethnic, racial, economic background that need help and get help through JFS. And in this day and age, particularly when I see what's going on with the immigrants and the people coming into this country from so many diverse places, that JFS is there to help people from all walks of life. And there are adjustments. After the pandemic, during the pandemic, it's made it even more challenging for people, and depression and loneliness and adjustments to all kinds of family problems, addiction, marital strife, homelessness. So JFS is just such an important part of this community.
I live in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I worked for Jewish Family Service here for 4 years, and I was on the front lines as a case manager, and I know what is needed And the biggest thing that's needed is support from the community around the area. Support in terms of financial support, which is a big one, but also in volunteering. That the more you give back to an agency such as Jewish Family Service, the longer it's going to survive, the more services that it's going to offer, and it's really going to help the community as a whole.
That's an exciting part of Jewish Family Services because we are an integral part of the community. And many of our referrals come from within the community. So we work collaboratively with community agencies, we work with school systems, we work with other partners in the community who we can assist in programming, and so we provide consultation services to programs. So there's a wide range of services that we're involved in. I think Jewish Family Services sees itself as being part of the overall systems of care within the area, and that enables us to provide a full range of services and to design those services for what are the needs of the clients or the client systems.
I'm very impressed with the organization and what they do in the city and even outside of the city of Lackawanna County.
It's a unique place in the community. It has a unique service in the community.
I think people should support JFS to the extent that they can because it's such an important part of our community. Provides services that people can or cannot get elsewhere, but often can't afford to go and don't know where to go elsewhere.
Jewish Family Service is obviously doing something right since they've been around for over 100 years.
Being involved in Jewish Family Services is an opportunity to make a difference in our community. Thank you, Art, again for putting all that together. There's one thing I forgot, which is very important, which is NEPA pledges that starts tonight. And so from 7 o'clock tonight until 7 o'clock tomorrow night, there's opportunities to support not just Jewish Family Services, but other not-for-profit agencies that you might want to help out to make a difference. And NEPA gives, NEPA gives. It's a fantastic thing. And when we reach $1,000 of donations, we're going to get a bonus, $900. And so if you can, please join us in supporting NEPA Gives. Thank you.
I hope that everyone has read the words here. If you need someone to talk to, we're here to listen. That's pretty good. And that's an important part of the mission here. Next, I'd like to ask Susie Connors to come forward for a presentation. Timing is out.
What? No. I got it here. Anyway, real quick story. Years and years, maybe 30 years ago, at a Martin Luther King event at Bethel, I did not go to it. Jimmy went. He walked in and thought, why is Susie here? She told me she wasn't coming. It was Natalie. In our much younger days. And anyway, Natalie, would you come up here? I have a special presentation for you. A certificate of special congressional recognition presented to Natalie Gelb in recognition of outstanding and invaluable service to the community, signed by our Congressman Matt Cartwright.
My sister. Turn it around.
Okay. That's it.
Next, we're going to hear from Sarah Solfanelli. And I want to tell you, there's a heck of a message that you're going to hear because I had a chance to preview it. And it would make any mother proud, as you're all going to hear. It's going to be delivered by Sarah Solfanelli, and I'd like to just say a few brief things about Sarah, not any of which you can read here, so I'm just going to add to what you're going to read. But Sarah's had an interesting career in law. When she graduated from law school, she went to work for the Zabel Law Firm, big prestigious firm in New York. And then from there, she ended up in London at some point as general counsel to the world's largest marketing firm, marketing and advertising company. And she came back to New York along the way and then worked at the Urban Justice Center, advancing issues that really mattered to her, that related to empowering people and making their lives better as a result of that empowerment. But I think something that might be new to a lot of you here tonight is the role that Sarah has played in what's become a national news story, and that is the Tulsa insurrection. And it wasn't the insurrectionists weren't the people that were preyed upon. In Tulsa in 1921, there was a black neighborhood known as Black Wall Street. Wealthy, affluent African Americans lived there. They had everything that met their needs. They had doctors, they had lawyers, they had dentists, they had butchers, they had bakers, they had candlestick makers. They had whatever they needed in this self-sufficient community with theaters and banks, all of which this African American community controlled. And they were wiped out in short order when an accusation was made that a white man had insulted, a black man had insulted a white woman. And Sarah's firm, the Zabel firm, has been leading the charge. They have a big pro bono effort. I mean, it's hard to believe their pro bono department is bigger than most law firms. And Sarah heads this up. So Sarah, come and talk to us about your mom. But I just wanted to give some context to who in the heck you are.
Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Mickey. I won't correct you up here. I'll just talk to you later about some of the facts in there. I will say, I can't think of anyone who deserves an honor entitled Community Matters more than my mother, Natalie Gelb. The only thing that surprised me about tonight was when I asked Art how long I had to introduce her. He told me, take as long as you want. And nobody has ever said that to me before in my life. I said, I am my mother's daughter, right? You know that. But aside from the fact that I have the loquacious gene, I think anybody could spend hours talking about my mom's commitment to her community and the profound impact that she has made. But I won't talk for hours. I'll try to keep it tight. Many of you know my mom from the time as the executive director of the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority and as the founder and executive director of its nonprofit arm, Heritage Valley Partners. In that capacity, her mission was to educate the public about and to preserve and conserve the region's historic, cultural, economic, and natural resources. She conceived of, spearheaded, and brought to life countless initiatives during her tenure. Most notably, she was instrumental in the development and expansion of the Lackawanna River Heritage Trail, with families and bikers and hikers walking the trail from Carbondale down to Taylor, enjoying the magic of our outdoors. Her work at LHVA alone would warrant bestowing her with this prestigious honor. But she didn't even begin that work until 2004, well after my brothers David and Bobby and I had moved from home and begun our own careers. So please indulge me a little while I talk a bit about my mother, who raised us and shaped who we are. All of us, my brothers and her grandchildren, Joey, Robbie, and Jenny, are living out her legacy every day through our own commitments to community and social good. My mother's childhood home was filled with such an abundance of love and family that she has always found it natural to care for others around her. By example, my grandparents instilled in my mother and her brother, my Uncle Mike, the importance of community and giving to your community. My grandfather, Manny Gelb, was a pillar in Northeast PA, and long before he was the mayor at the JCC walking laps in the pool every day, he was quietly supporting the neighborhood kid looking for their first job, the entrepreneurs struggling to get their business off the ground, or hitting the streets campaigning for the Democratic candidate. My mother's mom, Miriam Gelb, my mom has her tenacity and fierce loyalty. Manny would always be there to coach you and to support you, and you knew with Miriam in your corner, you could defeat anyone and anything. And my mom beautifully carries on both Manny and Miriam's great attributes. And she employs them not just for her children or her family or her friends, but for the entire community. And she does this with astounding compassion, energy, humor, and generosity. Her intellect and pragmatism are matched only by her doggedness and persistence. I'm not sure at what point I realized, much later in life, that it wasn't typical in every house to have people call at any hour seeking advice or help from your mother. There was no question Natalie could help. And if she couldn't help, she wouldn't rest until she found someone who could. And I have memories of going to St. Francis of Assisi Kitchen with my mother, volunteering at countless drives at Temple Hesed, the JCC, the Waverly Community House, delivering food around the holidays to those who weren't as fortunate as us. All of this was natural. You give back to your community to keep it strong, to make it welcoming and fair for everyone. I still remember how excited I was when my mom was Scranton Times Northeast Woman. I was in elementary school or maybe middle school. I was so proud. And it wasn't because my mom had her picture in the paper, as cool as I thought that was, and it wasn't a billboard, but still very cool. But she had already raised me by that in a way that I knew it was much cooler that my mother, who worked full-time as a successful marketing, insurance, and investment executive in the 1990s, on top of her volunteer activities and on top of raising 3 kids, was being recognized for her accomplishments, her skills, and her talents. And she was given a platform for her vision for the women, their daughters, and Northeast PA. And when my mother has a vision, she brings it to life. With passion, yes, thank you. With passion and optimism and enthusiasm, she throws herself into a cause or a project. I'm going to read through a list of organizations in which she has thrown herself into, belonged to, or had a leadership role. So pay attention. I am going to read this fast because it is long. She was a founding chair of First Night Scranton. She was vice president of Scranton Tomorrow, co-chair of Downtown Scranton Renaissance Initiative and the Art Space Committee. She was chair of the Scranton Riverfront Partnership, a trustee of Mercy Health Partners, on the board of Northeast Philharmonic, and a member of the Medical Education Development Committee for TCMC, and was on the Lackawanna County Economic Advisory Council. She served on the boards of the Alliance of National Heritage Areas, United Way, Building 1 PA, Life Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, St. Francis of Assisi Kitchen, the Waverly Community House, Northeastern Pennsylvania Healthcare Foundation, Temple Hesed, Scranton Half Marathon, and Women in Philanthropy. She is currently a member of the boards of directors of Keystone College, Jewish Family Service, and the Jewish Federation of Northeastern Pennsylvania. She's a member of the steering committee of Whistle Stop Scranton and the Holocaust Symposium. And I don't think this list is exhaustive. But do you sense a theme here? Community. And most importantly, she does not discriminate. Cultural, healthcare, social engagement, religious education, addressing issues of poverty, preservation, and development. If it is something that can make people's lives just a little bit better, she is there and giving her full heart. We do give her a bit of a hard time, that she needs to find something to worry about. I think a lot of you probably have heard this before, and with a bit of dark humor. When my brothers and I find out that one of us might be facing an issue, or Mickey or my husband Aiden have a dilemma, we're actually thrilled because it means that she'll stop being all over us and be paying attention to someone else. Her worry is not reserved for her family. She is worried about every single person in here, whether you know it or not. She has definitely worried about you. If I mention in passing that a friend might be thinking of moving or is going through a breakup, lost a job, she's off to the races, she is worried, she can't sleep, she's calling me first thing in the morning, how can she help? But someone worries because they care. If you didn't care, then you wouldn't worry. And my mom can't help herself. She cares about people. She cares about this community more than anything. My mother's values have seeped into my and my brother's consciousness. Well, I think we still have a long way to go. We only sit on like 6 or 7 nonprofit boards between the 3 of us. My brothers dedicate hundreds of hours a year to Northeastern Pennsylvania's community initiatives. And with my mother's unwavering and unconditional support, I am privileged to have a career in which I solicit and direct my law firm's pro bono legal services for hundreds of nonprofits in New York City and beyond. And as Mickey touched on, I'm a member of legal teams fighting for social justice and civil rights. In fact, one story that I often tell younger folks who ask me how I got the job I have now and ended up where I am, and I tell this story a lot. When I was in college, my junior year, I saw many of my friends getting offers to work in banking and finance because they had business degrees, and I panicked. I thought I should change my major, I should go into business, even though I had no interest in it whatsoever. So of course, my mother was very worried. She was worried about me, so she wrote me a 5-page handwritten letter explaining that she would support whatever decision I made, it was my decision, but that I would be successful with whatever path I chose if I put my heart into it, and that a well-rounded liberal arts education was invaluable and would equip me with the perspective, curiosity, and knowledge to go into the world and make a difference. Adlai Stevenson famously said about Eleanor Roosevelt, "She would rather light a candle than curse the darkness, and her glow has warmed the world." This encapsulates my mom. Yes, because of her perseverance and strength to overcome personal challenges, and because she doesn't just complain about a problem, she does something about it. She wants to solve it. My mother channels her passion and determination to making things better. She has done that for me and my brothers our whole lives. And yes, that includes marching into my middle school principal's office when I got into trouble for doing something which she thought was exactly the right thing to do. I told a teacher he embarrassed me for making fun of my hair in front of other students. Or at times, taking my brother David to task when he was somewhere that he shouldn't have been, or perhaps wasn't where he should have been. But she kept him honest. She held him accountable in all the wonderful ways a parent should to build character and a sense of community. And as some of you may know, my brother Bobby has overcome some extraordinary health challenges. And no offense, Bobby, but you never would have overcome them if it weren't for Mom's strength, will, and determination. And one example of that was when I was in high school and Bobby needed an organ transplant. My mom did not waste a single second. She researched the best medical facilities, the procedures, the statistics. She found the best doctors. She connected with the experts in the field. And remember, this was all before the internet. And then she founded the Northeast Coalition on Donation and guided me and some high school friends to start Teens for Transplants, holding assemblies at local high schools to raise awareness on the need for organ and tissue donation. She was awarded the Soapbox Award by the Gift of Life Donor Program for her work promoting donor awareness. There's so much that she has done that I don't want to miss it. But at one point, she was worried that people weren't shopping local and that local businesses were going to hurt. So she wrote an article for the Scranton Times, imploring people to shop local for the holidays. She talked about how exciting it was to see the Electric City sign light up again, reminiscing about shopping in town with her grandmother and mother when she was a little girl. She reminded the readers that, quote, "It is the local merchants who support our communities, giving their time and money to make this a better place." Her passion jumped off the page, and she said she was thrilled when a new business opens, bringing hope and optimism to the revitalization of our communities. In 2017, I asked my mom if there was going to be a March for Our Lives in Scranton, and she quickly discovered that there would not be, and she quickly got me and other activists in the community to work. And she understands that for something to be successful, to be impactful, it needs to include the entire community. She engaged a diverse group of high school students who took the lead, and nearly 1,000 people marched for our lives. In 2020, as communities across the country began to recognize the systemic injustices that have caused and continue to cause harm to the most marginalized in society, my mom did not and does not shy away from tough conversations. Her concern to see an inclusive and fair community for all of its members, regardless of race, background, gender, religion, or identity, was palpable and contagious. She wants to keep learning. She still wants to know what she can do now, today, to strengthen and improve our community for everyone. Most recently, worried about the state of our country and the epidemic of divisiveness, and fearing what politics might bring for the future of her grandchildren, her and some of her friends founded Defenders of Democracy. They were determined that a nonpartisan initiative to register voters in northeastern PA could help save our democracy and play a vital role in making not just our local community, but our country better. My mother has received so many well-deserved awards, including the Margaretta Beal and Chamberlain Award, and was chosen as the Woman of Excellence at the Sage Awards of the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce, and so many more. But I say this to you tonight, Mom. Those awards and tonight's beautiful honor are not your legacy. And your legacy is not just your children, to whom you've imbued the same passion and unwavering commitment to community, or your grandchildren, who will carry that same loyalty to make their communities stronger. Your legacy is the people in this room. Everyone here is here because they have been touched by your kindness, inspired by your resilience, and impassioned to act by your example. And your legacy is the countless people who aren't in this room tonight, who have had the great opportunity to live in northeastern Pennsylvania and to benefit from your time and generosity, some directly, thousands indirectly, whether immigrant families you've welcomed with open arms to the community, or children running and playing along the trail. You have enriched so many lives, and your legacy will serve as a shining light during dark times for generations to come. So I ask you all to please stand and recognize and celebrate Natalie's incredible accomplishments and express gratitude for the profound impact she has made on all of us.
I don't know how to respond to that, and I'm never at a loss for words, those of you who know me. I think I'm genetically unable to just get up here and say thank you. But there's so many people to thank, and I don't really know where to start. So I'm going to start with the wonderful staff at JFS, because this night is really not about me. I know a lot of you are here for me, but it's really about this wonderful organization and all the other organizations in this community that make it so special. So thank you to the staff of JFS, and especially Art Lewandowski, who I drove absolutely crazy. I must have called him every day for about a month, asking about who's coming, and what are we gonna do, and are they advertising, and are there ads? Anyway, thank you, Art. But more than anything, I want to recognize my family. You just heard from Sarah. She is me on steroids, believe me. But I'm going to start with the youngest ones first, if you'll indulge me. My beautiful granddaughter, Jenny. Stand up, Jenny. Jenny Soffinelli and Bobby Soffinelli. Robbie. I get them mixed up because it's the same constellation, 2 boys and a girl. And David, my oldest grandson, David. Oh, jeez, I did it again. Joey. Can you tell I'm flustered? Stand up, Joey. I used to wonder why my mother always called she called us by different names. And I do the same thing all the time now. And then I'm going, well, Sarah, you've heard from, and what can I say? I'm so proud of her. Bobby, this is the real Bobby, who's probably the most inspirational and courageous person I know. And David, the guy with the biggest shoulders. He's a little grumpy sometimes, but he takes care of everybody. And David, don't worry. I know what you always say. He always says, Mom, get to the point. Okay. That's my immediate family, my wonderful son-in-law, Aidan Sullivan, all the way from London, although he brought Sarah back. She left and went to London for a while, but she's back, and we love having Aiden as part of our family. And last but not least, where is she? My matriarch, my Aunt Ruth Gelb. She's only 96 years old, though. She's sharper than I am. I don't know what she's saying. She's telling. I keep her spirit alive. You keep our spirit alive. My brother, Mike Gelb, and his wonderful wife, Janet, all the way from Virginia. And my cousins and the rest of the greater family. But again, Sarah doesn't suffer like I do from not having anything to say. And Bobby and David are always saying, hurry up already. Tell us, get to the point. So the point is, community matters. I think it's so appropriate that JFS has that theme, because it's a double entendre. They have a newsletter called Community Matters where they tell you what's going on, but they always remind us that community does matter. And that's the most important thing. When I was at LHVA and people would ask me, you know, what's so special about this place, I would always say the sense of community. And I really mean that. A community is people coming together, caring about each other, sharing the same concerns, the same interests, advocating for something. And there are so many communities represented here tonight. There's such a diversity of communities here. I'm so proud to be part of some of them, and so many community leaders in this room. So I just encourage you to never feel like you can't accomplish something, because you can. And we all have to do it together. And I thank you all so very, very much for being here. No, I forgot the most important person. Guess who? Mike Washoe, AKA Mickey. And some of you know this and some of you don't, but he's changed my life. We've been friends since high school, and we rediscovered each other several years ago. And he supports me, and he encourages me, and he cares for me, and he believes in me, and he loves to make fun of me. So he keeps me humble. And there's no place that I'd rather have him than right next to me.
Yeah, when she saw all of you folks here tonight, she just pushed me aside, just like I no longer existed. That's all right. Sarah, that was wonderful. Did a great job. And seriously, I thought that Nat was going to speak for a long time. This was extraordinary. She was overcome by Sarah's words, and so that tempered her remarks. So for the closing remarks this evening, we have the face of Jewish Family Services coming up, and that is Sheila Noodleman Abdo. Sheila, I know you're proud of your staff. You always say you are. You know how to do things yourself, and you know how to delegate things to people, and you understand the importance of counseling and the importance of community, and you've just done a magnificent job at Jewish Family Services, and I'd like you to come on up here and do whatever you want to do, okay? But just remember, there will be desserts right after Sheila.
I'll be quick.
Oh, that's okay.
Everybody's looking awfully hungry for their desserts. But tonight I get to sum the program up. And the job I like to do is really thanking people. So you might hear some of the same things that you've heard earlier, but they're worth repeating. The first person I want to talk about totally is you, Natalie, our honoree for tonight. As a Scranton native, I grew up being aware of the Gelb family. In fact, I grew up across the street on Monroe Avenue from the Gelb's home. And as a teenager and as a child, I often heard the Gelb name in our household. My parents, my dad's gone now, but knew your dad well, and so did my mom. And so when I'm thinking about tonight, I'm thinking, I'm going to start researching you by researching your family. So, Manny. Okay, so I started looking about your dad, and yeah, I remember him. I remember him more than your mom. You know, I do. I have your face of your dad. And so I started looking at different things about your dad. And what I learned about his community service, his participation in community, his political affairs, his involvement in nonprofits, caring for underprivileged, underserved, and I thought, that's Natalie. You know, she didn't fall far from the tree. So the more I learned about your dad, the more I felt like I learned about you. You know, as we heard tonight, we heard so much great stuff about you, Natalie, and everything that Sarah said, and your extensive experience in the nonprofit world and all the boards you sit on. You share your expertise with so many. You're committed to all these important causes, your leadership, making the community a better place, and your innovation, your vision. All that you do, all that you continue to do. There was really no better honoree for tonight's event, so I thank you for that, Natalie. Natalie, I have a little present for you, so I'm going to ask you to come up again. It's not from me, it's from all of us. Making you stand up again, come on over. Okay. I'm just going to read a little bit about why we picked what we picked for you. Meaningful gifts aren't always easy to get, but we wanted to pick out something that would commemorate tonight's event and honor you as you continue to make the world a better place. Natalie, JFS, as you've heard tonight in your experience, we're rooted in the tradition of philanthropy, social justice, and tzedakah. And tzedakah, for those of you who don't know, is the Hebrew word for charity, and it's fundamental for who we are and the mission of our organization. So tonight, in the bag, which I'll give you in a second, is a tzedakah box. And a tzedakah box, you know, many Jewish homes had tzedakah boxes in their home where you'd put change in and give your change to charity. It's like a little bank, but you give your philanthropy to charity. It's a regular thing. So there's a tzedakah box that we have here from the Gary Rosenthal collection, and it's a personalized one. So it has the JFS insignia on it, and it has your name inscribed on it. So that we hope that this gift, you'll continue to do your part to help others and help make our community a stronger, better place. And Natalie, we thank you for all you've done and you continue to do. So thank you.
One more thing. I'm not only not finished, because thank you, I love this. We call it a pushka in my family, growing up, a little box that we put money in when something good happens or you want something good to happen, and it's a little kind of a prayer. But I did want to say one more thing, because I got so shaken by all the things that Sarah said, I forgot a couple of things. And that is that Jewish family service really is my heritage and my identity as a Jewish woman in this community. And it's all about family. That's why my family was the focus of what I said, and service. So I really appreciate being part of Jewish Family Service. It's a wonderful organization, and I'm thrilled to support it. And thank you so much for the tzedakah box. It means a lot. Thank you.
A couple more thank yous. The speakers tonight, Master of Ceremony, I never called you Mickey Mike, but Mike. Guest speaker Sarah, who I've just met tonight, and the way that you spoke about your mom was really beautiful. Thank all of Natalie's family, all the friends, everybody who came here tonight to share in tonight's program. Thank you so much. Want to also thank Deirdre, our board president. Deirdre is a great board president, 3 years on, but now I hear we're having no more term limits, so maybe it'll never be over. Deirdre? Okay. And I thank you so much for everything that you do. And tonight's event, Leah Lowry helped Art put together a beautiful event. So thank you so much. And also I'd like to recognize, as someone had earlier, the honorees of the past events. We have Jim and Susie Connors, Sandra and Maury Myers are here, Barb and Lou. And if you noticed again on the video, we had Jane Oppenheim's daughter, Ellen, who was very honored to speak on her mom's behalf and be part of our presentation tonight. Now I get to mention the staff of JFS. They do a great job. And I'm not the easiest boss at times. The direction that they get, is that, they get the job done, and I make sure, help them get the job done. They're a team. And we've had challenges the last couple of years. COVID's been a challenge getting our stuff back on track here for our events, obstacles, personal things we've all gone through, but the staff stays together and we keep going forward. So some of our staff, you've noticed they're here for many years. Some are new staff, only here a few years, but they all do a great job. They're an exceptional group of people. They're outstanding, and I'm happy to be part of such a great professional staff. So tonight, I know that Deirdre made everybody stand up, but if you want to thank them, you saw their pictures in the program, you know who they are, and I'm sure that they would appreciate a personal thank you because they all do a job. That's great. We come to the end of our evening. So again, basically, I thank everybody. I appreciate everybody coming tonight. We have a great dessert buffet happening. We've got our auction table to complete. And again, thank you so much for being part of JFS.